You're listening to the Boldcastify College Series.
Yeah, there you go. I'm Clay.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mark. How you doing?
This is Robert.
Special guest appearance from Mr. Newdecker on the Boldcastify College Series. How's it going, everybody?
Pretty good.
All right.
Ain't dead yet.
That's always positive. I like that outlook.
You are
kidding
very.
me.
You're so close than all of us to being dead.
Yeah,
There
one
you
foot in
go.
the grave, 1 foot in debt. So I'm not sure what that means, but that's what it is.
This economy, it's only getting worse, bro.
Unfortunately, it's life.
I blame Obamacare.
But that's why we have college football.
Well,
And this is week 3. No, actually, this is week 4.
This is week 4, yes.
This is week 4, actually.
Yes. Don't worry, guys. He will no longer be doing the show after next week.
well,
What do we have from there?
Well, going into week 4, biggest question is who's the top 4 if playoffs were this week. Of course, there wasn't a change in the first top 6 this week. So, of course, as number 1, we have Alabama. Number 2, we have Ohio State. 3 at Louisville. And number 4, of course, Michigan. And how do you guys feel about the top 4 as of this week?
That's an interesting alignment.
still replaced Michigan with Clemson, but still, that's just me.
Well, that'll be decided this weekend.
Oh, yeah. We'll
Absolutely.
figure out.
So,
We'll talk about that later, though.
I'll be honest, I'm a little tired of seeing Alabama and Ohio State every single week. I'm ready for some teams to step up and beat them.
yeah, I mean, at least they'll start playing some competition here soon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who has Ohio State really played, to be honest?
Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's kind of down.
that's what I was about to say. They played Oklahoma. That's about the only thing they can put their hat on, which they did totally dominate Oklahoma.
But Oklahoma's not as good, I think, as people thought they were.
Yeah, then that's what I was about to lead into is I don't think Oklahoma is what we thought they were going to be.
Whereas Louisville beat so far what we see as a good Florida State team.
Also debatable.
But that's
Yeah.
But what does that say?
We weren't that well.
We may not be as good as we thought we were.
I'm starting to think we're not.
We're not. I'll be the
So
first
I
to
mean
admit.
that could. We still don't know anything about Louisville either.
I'll give you a shocker further down the way. Who'd have thought Wake Forest would be 4-0 right now?
That's impressive. That is definitely very impressive.
I actually saw that on college football, on one of the college football shows, that they were saying Wake Forest 4-0 for the first time in a long time.
I said it in the preseason. This is the year for ACC teams.
It is. Definitely. A lot of teams looking pretty impressive just out the gate. Boise State still undefeated. They've had a couple of good matches.
And to me, Houston, Boise, and I'd say USF are probably the class of the group of 5 teams right now.
I like it, yeah. They're definitely right there.
Because I'd say Houston's the best out of the American, but I'd say USF and Memphis right now are fighting for the and Navy are basically fighting for the second spot. Those 3 teams. I think the American arguably is better than the Big 12. I'd make an argument.
It's a big argument.
That's a big
That's
argument.
a bold statement, sir.
It's a very bold statement.
This is the Boldcastify College Series.
And on that note,
Well,
That's an unnecessary plug.
we like it,
But it works.
but anyways, moving on.
all right. So next on the agenda, we're going to go over some of the Week 4 games, some of the top 10 matchups for the week. Of course, we can discuss each one. Alabama, of course, beat Kent State. Obviously, didn't even let them get not even a field goal. Won 48-0 as expected.
Nick Saban's donation.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, number 2 Ohio State had a bye week. Not even a good game. Number 3 Louisville, of course, beat Marshall. Beat Marshall 59-28.
It started off pretty close in the beginning. It took a minute.
Yeah, it did. I mean, first quarter was
quarter
7-0. I mean, it's
But then, like the second quarter, they basically just turned
it
it
just
on.
took it from there. Absolutely.
Yeah, they put the gears in, and there you went.
Yep.
I mean, really,
Jackson still looks unstoppable.
Yeah.
They
Lamar
do,
Jackson just.
that's
He's
why
special.
he's number 1 in the Heisman candidates.
He's special.
He's a good player. Number 4 Michigan beat PSU for that's obviously
41
correct.
to-
41-10. I mean, a decent matchup here. Obviously, you knew what the outcome would have been, but number 5 Clemson beat Georgia Tech 26-7. Clemson again started off a little rough, didn't do what we expected them to do. but they haven't really done that much this year against some
But
teams.
Clemson has had that issue versus Georgia Tech in recent years.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now they finally
Yeah.
cast a demon aside in
Back-
Georgia Tech.
Back to the Penn State
And Georgia
thing.
Tech, it seems like they've been doing pretty well recently.
Penn State, to me, I don't think is really good this year at all.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. I mean, they lost to Pitt a couple weeks ago, a short-handed Pitt.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
They are a pretty bad team.
Yeah.
Not what anyone thought they were going to be.
Granted, Pitt's a little better, I think, than people thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
After Clemson, of course, number 6, Houston beat Texas State, and for some reason, Texas State playing everybody this year.
Yeah, getting around.
64-3. I tell you, Texas State, I would say, has the number 1 hardest schedule in college football.
I mean, UMass is not too far behind.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Number
They're
7.
trying to get money.
Good
I mean,
football, though.
I mean, they still get paid to play them, even if they lose. Number 7, Stanford pulled off the win against UCLA, 22-13. I thought UCLA was gonna pull that one off, and they did for a good portion of the game.
UCLA led the whole game
They
until
did.
the last, just
They
under the
blew
last
it.
minute.
They blew it. That was an upset I was looking forward to. Unfortunately, didn't get to happen. Here's a huge upset, and I don't think many people have seen this coming. Number 8, Michigan lost to number 11, Wisconsin.
Michigan State.
Not just Michigan State. Not just a loss, but a blowout, 30-6.
Well, you
That
shows
was
who's
a
hungry for
big
it, though.
surprise.
Big surprise.
I thought Michigan State was better than that. I was questionable on Wisconsin's offense, especially after the Georgia State game the week before.
I think Wisconsin did it for their kicker.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, actually.
Probably.
But
I
Wisconsin showed that, I mean, if they can hold true to this, that they showed they're legit.
Absolutely,
They're very good defensively.
they are. And you take them for granted, and of course they come and do what they just did at Michigan State. So,
Yep.
and last but not least, number 9, Washington beat Arizona 35-28.
In the late night. Yep.
Yes,
The
wasn't a
late
blowout.
night-
It was a
Pac-12
close
last
game,
night.
Late night Pac-12 action.
Love it.
So how do you guys feel about the those games? Any of them stick out?
I'm liking what Washington's doing.
Chris Peterson got him on the right track. Chris Peterson, of course, for those who don't know, basically was one of the ones that made Boise State what it is today.
Right. But his former program seems to be doing pretty well, like it usually does when someone leaves.
They just promoted his offensive coordinator, and they've just been running along.
Right. I mean, pretty much whenever the coach leaves from there, the program usually keeps going pretty well. But as for Washington, I look for a pretty good matchup there coming up this week.
Oh, yeah.
They've got Washington's looking pretty good this
Old
year.
Stanford.
Pretty much they all went as status quo, except of course, like Brandon and I were expecting UCLA to beat Stanford.
Michigan State game was a big surprise, wasn't it?
That was a little bit of a surprise, especially how the
was a big
differential,
surprise,
the
yeah.
differential
Yeah.
did a lot.
I thought Michigan State was going to win. I was not sold on Wisconsin until this game.
I mean, I had Wisconsin in the game, but the spread is what got a lot of people.
All right.
Oh yeah,
The
most
large
definitely.
differential.
Yeah, 30-6 is just crazy. And of course, after Michigan State beat Notre Dame, we thought there was something special, but Notre
Right.
Dame just seems to be one of those
That's
teams
another one.
that's
They're in
overrated.
free fall.
Yes, exactly.
No Rudy to save them.
No
No
Rudy.
Rudy this year.
Speaking of Notre Dame, some upsets.
Yep, we'll get into the Week 4 upsets. Absolutely, of course, as we just stated, Wisconsin beat
19.
number 8 Michigan. Here's another blowout that we did not expect to see. I mean, of course,
I
a
did.
loss, but not as loss as what occurred. But number 12 Georgia lost to Ole Miss 45-14.
Am I the only one that expected that to be a blowout?
No, I expected
Because
Virginia
I
to
did.
lose, but not
But
to the
you
extent
don't
of
expect it
45-14.
still to that extent.
You think
I
they
do.
gave up halfway through the game? Or?
No, what happened was Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb got injured, and the team is completely just.
And
Yeah,
crap.
they couldn't run the ball.
But even before Nick Chubb got hurt, he was being bottled up.
Yeah, no, I mean seriously, throughout the game they really could not run the ball.
You know why? Because that's what teams do when they study game film. Sorry, Florida State. That's what happens when you study game film. You are able to shut down their
8
biggest
in the
target.
box, Nick Chubb, and basically that's how you beat Georgia. And I thought Ole Miss was going to blow them out because I thought they lost to a couple of really good teams early in the year.
Right.
I mean,
It is a fact.
and I didn't think Georgia was a very good football team.
No, Georgia's definitely having his struggles with Kirby right now. He's having to find his way.
They don't have
The
a
team's
quarterback.
having to find its way. I'm not going to say the quarterback's a problem. The quarterback's young. You really want to jump on these freshman quarterbacks. You got to remember he's being thrown in the fire.
I'm saying he's not
I
ready.
disagree. I think if you're going to be the top quarterback, you just need to man up and do what you need to do.
Fair point, but still, I don't think he's ready. And he's being thrown. Yeah, you're right, being thrown to the wolves. He's not ready, and Lambert's trash. So
Well,
basically,
okay. Well, he was hitting receivers during the game.
yeah, they
He was
did drop
doing
passes.
his part, and he was getting a lot of drop passes.
But by then, Ole Miss was already off to the races.
Okay, well, how's that on him?
I understand.
So,
I also
my point being is the team's simply off.
they're not playing.
Georgia is there's a lot of offensive line issues, defensive issues across the board.
They're just terrible this year. And then the controversial one, LSU and Auburn.
Wow is all I can say. That was quite an ending to that game. I mean, if you're LSU, you had to have gotten just teed off at that. I mean, giving your hopes up, having your team and fans run on the field, and then getting it called back like that. Did you watch the game?
I missed it, honestly.
Backstory. There's a couple seconds left in the game. Time clock hits a 0. LSU quarterback snaps the ball, throws it downfield to the end zone, touchdown. Caught the pass. Fans, team run onto the field celebrating.
Replay.
Officials, of course, replay every touchdown that comes now. Hit 0 seconds. Maybe a second and a half, 2 seconds after it hit 0.
Ooh.
Touchdown gets taken away. Auburn wins the game.
That is just
Awful.
bad timing by the quarterback, honestly. That's something that
Well, it was only 1 second left when they placed the ball and ran the clock. So in reality,
didn't have
you
too
didn't
much
have
time,
much of a
so-
chance.
Timing in general.
Well, I
There
mean,
really was no time.
And unfortunately, it was the
bad
last.
clock management when it comes down to, honestly.
I
Unfortunately,
can't
it was the
argue with
last
that.
ball in the
Penalty.
history or the coaching career of Les Miles at LSU.
Yep, they finally got rid of the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter's not Teflon anymore.
He had his time. I mean, he did what he
He
did.
did some crazy, wild stuff.
That's why they called it. Yeah, because he was kind of known for his fourth down gambling and his fake punts and a lot of stuff like that. And his Australian rules punters that could throw it. Then, of course, another huge upset, Notre Dame losing to Duke. Talk about a free fall.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Defensive coordinator losing his job because they're giving up 40 points a game.
There's multiple jobs being lost.
Well, I mean, I don't tell you about that. That's just horrible.
I
Yeah,
can't
Van
believe
Goyder, they let go of Van Goyder in the
Yeah,
spot.
Van Gorder, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they've got a top 5 draft pick at quarterback, and they are 1-3 right now.
Yeah, that's on the defense.
Well,
Yeah.
his quarterback doesn't
he's
make
doing
a
what he can.
game.
No,
You
it
gotta
doesn't.
have
Yeah,
everyone in
It does a lot in college, but
Yeah.
it doesn't do everything.
Because that's what's crazy. Because Deshaun Kaiser right now on a lot of sites is being rated as arguably the number 1 draft eligible quarterback on a lot of sites now.
Yeah, but if you don't have an offensive line or a defense to back you up, what are you supposed to do as a quarterback?
The offense is not a problem at all. They've got defensive issues
The
left
defensive
and right.
issues, they're being gutted left and right. I mean, they gave up 50 to Texas.
Texas, who's not very good.
Which we learn now.
Yeah,
I mean,
didn't
they're
they
still
lose?
they're
too?
still looking all right, but
Texas lost to somebody too.
right. What I'm saying is they're still looking all right, but they're not looking as good as everyone made them out to be the first week.
Right.
How they got jumped to number 10.
Yeah.
I mean, we seen that their very first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently Notre Dame, as I said, not as good as people thought.
So now we're looking at week 4 rankings. We have Alabama coming in at number 1. Ohio State still remains at number 2. Louisville remains at number 3. Michigan at number 4. Clemson at 5. Houston at 6. Stanford Cardinal at 7 after their beat of UCLA.
Top 7, no change.
Yep. Wisconsin comes in at 8 now.
Yep, flip flop basically with Michigan State.
Indeed. And Texas A&M comes in at 9. And Wisconsin.
Washington.
Sorry, I don't know why I said Wisconsin. Washington comes in at 10.
And the
As
funny,
we prime up for now another top 5 matchup. Top 10 matchup between Wisconsin. I keep saying Wisconsin.
Stanford and Washington.
Stanford and Washington.
Yes.
We're excited for Wisconsin.
Week
for
5
whatever
is going to
reason.
be an amazing week for football as we have 3 top 10 matchups. The biggest, I think, of the weekend, and maybe the biggest of the year, which I am looking forward to. Number 3, Louisville hosts number 5, Clemson. Travels actually to number 5, Clemson. So they're playing home. I mean, away. Clemson's home. So it's. I mean, that's not an easy place to
Definitely.
play.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big game right there.
And I've got a buddy of mine at work that's going to actually be at the game. He's a Louisville fan, so
No, that's good to hear.
Yeah,
Someone there.
yeah, there you go.
Good to know you have a buddy there.
That's great.
We know someone whose
whose
nephew is going to be in the game.
I know someone who knows someone who's going to be at the game, so that's
Yeah,
pretty
I know.
exciting. That's pretty exciting.
I know someone who's like the running back for Clemson. So.
yeah, Wayne Gallman.
Yeah.
Our buddy is his uncle.
Yeah. So
Second row.
everyone
Yeah.
knows somebody.
Yeah.
Everyone knows somebody, absolutely.
And speaking of
Not me, but we'll go
what's
with that.
what's funny about the top 10, Louisville actually has more first place votes than Ohio State right now.
They should.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But it's funny that Ohio State's number 2 and Louisville's still number 3, even though Louisville has more first place votes.
Well, college football stats have always been a little wonky.
Doesn't matter to the playoffs.
And also, you have to recall to the fact who's got the brand name. At the end of the day, who's got the brand?
Good point. All right, so
Next, after Louisville and Clemson, we had number 4 Michigan host number 8 Wisconsin, and they're playing at Michigan. So that's going to be a.
In the big
let's
house.
back up a little bit to Louisville and Clemson. We didn't do the picks. All right. So obviously Louisville's a
We
great
need to
team.
look over that one a little bit.
Louisville's a great team. Clemson's also an amazing team. With the way Clemson's been playing lately, I know we're going to review it later. Of course, we can change it later. But as of right now, I'm going to pick Louisville to win the game because of Clemson starting out slow. Louisville doesn't start off slow, nor do they end slow. They're a fast-paced team for 4 quarters.
No, I guess I get to go next. I'm actually going to go ahead and take Clemson until proven otherwise. This is going off on the rails here, but they are still the defending ACC champ. They are the Atlantic champ. Till they're dethroned, we'll take them, even though Jackson and Louisville's on a roll.
All right. My analysis on this: Clemson players to watch. Obviously, Deshaun Watson. Obviously, Wayne Gallman.
Absolutely.
Yep. And you got the receivers: Ray McLeod, Deion Kane, and Mike Williams. Those guys and Scott. But then you also have on defense Ben Boulware for Clemson is the main guy, as well as a couple of. They got a couple of good
Is he related
corners.
to Peter?
No,
Okay.
white guy. And then you got Tankersley, good corner, probably a top 2 round pick. And then, but for Louisville, of course, Lamar Jackson and James Quick on the offensive side. Defensive side, you got Harvey Clemens. You've got Shaq Wiggins at corner. Then you got Devontae Fields and Keith Kelsey, who both All-American linebackers. So it's basically going to be the fast start of Louisville versus can Clemson maintain it. I'm going to go and give me the Cardinal hat. Louisville.
Well, 10 minutes later.
You don't need a Cardinal hat. And that was very drawn out, but
By 1 score.
by 1 score. So you expect Clemson
I think
to shut them
Clemson's.
down.
I think Clemson's going to finally wake up a little bit.
Nudie?
Decker, what you got?
Not Louisville, I know that much.
So you're going Clemson.
Absolutely. LSU all the way, because no one cares about the Cardinals. They're
Alright.
obsolete.
All right.
So
Well, we have
you're
a
going to
Clemson
delete
pick.
them, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
we have
LSU and Clemson to beat Louisville this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about.
solid pick.
Number 4 Michigan versus number 8 Wisconsin at Michigan. Since it's a home game, I'm gonna have to go with Michigan on this one.
So you're going to go Michigan in the big house,
I'm
huh?
going Michigan at home. Yeah,
That's hard. That's hard to go against that one.
it is.
I'm going with Michigan.
That is a tough one to really go against right there. Whiskey on the road in Michigan Stadium
In the big house, yep.
in front of a lot of maize and blue.
You're going to go with the maize and blue.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with maize and blue.
I think maize and blue is the best way to go.
So Michigan
So
for you as
LSU
well.
and Michigan. Okay. Next on the list, number 7 Stanford versus number 10 Washington, and we're playing at Washington. And not
Friday
only are we
night
playing
special.
at Washington, but after Stanford's performance against UCLA, I'm going to have to go to Washington on this one.
Taking Chris Peterson's boys, huh?
I am.
Very, very bold, my friend. Very, very bold.
This is Boldcast.
I'm going to go with. I'm going to agree with you. Actually, I'm going to go Washington on the Friday night special, man.
Wow. This is becoming pretty repetitive because I'm actually taking the Huskies myself.
I'm Husky myself, so I'm going with the Huskies.
All right.
All right.
Wow.
Laura, what you vote for? Number 11 Tennessee versus number 25 Georgia. They're
Between
playing.
the hedges, huh?
They're playing at Georgia. I mean, both teams are not playing as well as they are supposed to. Number 20, Georgia's coming off of a loss, so they got a chip on their shoulder there, so they're coming out to make a statement after a blowout. Tennessee just came off of a 11-year loss to Florida, so they're also coming and they're hyped. So that
They
that
knocked the
is
snide.
that is a tough decision. At the end of the day, I'm gonna go with Tennessee on this one.
I will also go Rocky Top because, I mean, Georgia hadn't shown me they can play yet.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Kirby's team, yeah, they don't have it.
I think Georgia's going to be a surprise.
Woo! We got a surprise over here.
Newdecker going Georgia.
He's going Georgia
People are
between the
gonna
hedges.
undersell Georgia,
I mean, that is
and I
one
think they might pull
thing
it out by
everyone has to
3.
take in consideration with this game. You've got Tennessee coming off a very emotional win against Florida, which has been coming for a long time. Georgia's expecting to bounce back, as Brandon said. Tennessee may have a letdown because it's not like they've looked really that good until this game.
Until the fourth quarter.
Second half even, but they look like they got it together. But you don't know emotionally what kind of hangover there's going to be.
All right.
So, but most of us are taking Tennessee, with the exception of Robert.
All right.
So you got Tennessee too, huh?
Yep. Rocky Top is going to take the hedges.
All right, next on the list we had number 12 FSU hosting University of North Carolina, of course, playing
In
the
Bob Bowden Field
Bob
at Doak
Bowden
Campbell
Field.
Stadium.
Both teams 3-1 currently. Carolina has a great team, great offense, great defense. Only one loss was to Georgia with a bad play calling on the ref's part. I'm going to go biased again, being a Florida State fan. I'm going to go with Florida State on this one since we're playing at home. It's going to be a close game, I think. I think we're going to pull it off, though.
By 3? Or you think more?
I'm hoping more because I'm going to have to leave the game early. So
Florida
they
State.
better be by more.
Shootout.
A shootout.
Yes. Because both teams are going to put up points. I mean, North Carolina finally has seemed to gotten their offense
Yes,
together
they
the
have.
last game or two. So
They've been a little sluggish.
they
The
barely
last
beat
2 games,
Pitt,
I
but
must say they barely beat Pitt. What was the final on that one?
like 39-36.
Yeah, it was a pretty high.
And
total.
North Carolina came back to win that one.
Yeah.
And it was a shootout from the word go. So,
So who you
Yeah,
got,
it was
buddy?
37-36.
yeah.
You got Florida
I was
State?
about to say something close. Yeah.
It was a nice shootout.
So you got Florida State, just you never came out and said.
What do you got?
FSU shootout.
I got, I'm going to go with FSU.
Good.
Solid
I
choice.
don't think it's going to be more than 3. I think it's going to be a close game. Like he said, it's going to be all offense, but we're going to see what happens.
I think it's going to be a close game until the fourth. Florida State should get it done, but I agree with Mark. I don't know why, but somewhere between the fourth quarter, it's still going to be a shootout. It's going to be you may see more records being broke with this one because neither team really has defense.
It's going to be a nail biter.
It's going to be a lot of running game.
Well, I'll say this much: either it's going to be a shootout across the board, or it's going to be a shootout in one direction for North Carolina.
Because here's the thing.
But I'm expecting a Florida State victory with the shoot.
We'll see how the second half.
A consistent consistent shootout.
Yeah.
I'm expecting somewhere in the 40s.
40-something to 30-something, definitely. Because I'm going to tell you right now, with Mitch Trubisky and Elijah Hood, North Carolina can score.
Right.
And then you have on Florida State, you have DeAndre Francois and Dalvin Cook. Hopefully Francois can get his stuff together earlier.
Right.
Him and you have Dalvin Cook and Jacquez Patrick.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do we have after that?
All right, so number 17, Michigan State versus Indiana. We're playing at Indiana, and losses can really hurt a team's morale. It can really bring you down, or it could bring you up. But I'm gonna pull this one since we're playing Indiana. I'm gonna go with Indiana on this one.
All right, going with the upset, huh?
I am.
Well, both teams are coming off losses. Michigan State coming off the bad loss to Wisconsin. Indiana coming off a loss to Wake Forest. I'm going to go with Michigan State.
All right.
I'm going with Indiana.
What has Indiana even looked like this year?
Basically, their usual self, all offense, no defense.
That's what I figured as much.
They're just hoping for a big offensive play to
Yeah, they're
compensate for
this
the
is going to be a
defense.
usual matchup between Michigan State and Indiana.
offense versus defense, not picking defense.
Yeah, it's going to be a high offense game. It's going to be a good game, but the defense there's no point in going on the field, honestly.
Talent levels.
Got an interesting feeling about it, but I'll go ahead and stick Michigan State.
All right.
It's just a game where talent wins.
Right.
And here's one, number 21, TCU versus Oklahoma. We're playing at TCU, and even though we're playing home, I'm going to pick Oklahoma to win this one.
So, Amon Carter, I'm going to go with Oklahoma as well. I am not convinced on TCU, even though I don't think Oklahoma is very good. I think TCU is not very good at all.
TCU did a world whooping on SMU last week.
But it's SMU. SMU won one game last year.
Wow, that's pretty disparaging.
I think TCU is going to surprise you, sir.
It's pretty disparaging to the poor folks in Dallas.
I'm just telling you, Southern Methodist did only win one game last year, so they're not very good.
Well, I can't really dispute that one.
And what's Clay's pick?
It's Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. So we have all three Oklahoma.
I mean, I don't really believe in Oklahoma, let's be real. So it wouldn't shock me something here. But
I don't believe in TCU either.
No, I don't believe in either one. But
I'm
I'll
going to
take the
go with
lesser of the two.
TCU. I think people are giving them too much crap. I think they're going to prove something.
I like it.
All right.
Solid off the wall.
Last but not least, number 22, Texas versus Oklahoma State. Also playing Oklahoma State here, and I have Oklahoma State pulling this one off.
At T-Boone Pickens,
Solid choice.
I'm going Oklahoma State as well.
I think the only choice is Oklahoma State, honestly.
Or LSU.
Sure, they want to show up to be on the sidelines.
Well, since I got a little gimme room, I'll go ahead and take Texas.
So you're going to hook them?
I'm going to hook them horns.
All right, so we got that out of the way. So let's talk about some key injuries going into week 4. Obviously, we still have Florida State's safety and defensive end, Derwin James and Josh Sweat out both for torn meniscus time. Nobody quite knows yet. Number 5 is Clemson. Lead wide receiver Hunter is still out with a broken hand.
Slot man.
Man, that sucks.
Slack man, yes sir.
Yeah.
Duke defensive back Devon Edwards unfortunately ended his college career with a torn ACL.
That's sad. Good nickelback, good kick returner.
Yep, absolutely. Stanford's wide receiver is out with a concussion. He'll miss the next game.
Okay.
Michigan's defensive back Jeremy Clark out for the season with a torn ACL.
Okay.
Nick Chubb obviously left the game with an ankle injury. Not sure if he'll be playing the next game or not. Florida quarterback Del Rio still out. And Alabama running back Harris still out with an ankle injury. Had to leave the game last time.
A lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries piling up
for some top matchups this weekend too.
Yeah.
It's very key.
Of course, I'm not sure if Florida will struggle too much against Vanderbilt, but
I mean, Vandy's not look terrible, but
They're not score.
I'm about to say they're not great.
yeah.
Be amazing.
I'm pretty sure
They
this
barely
will be Derek Mason's last year.
They barely beat Western Kentucky.
Right, and every year they play Florida, their defense stops Florida, but their offense can't score.
Yeah, and Western Kentucky's having to replace a quarterback and a tailback.
Yep. Next on the list, we'll go through this one quickly. Heisman candidates, obviously at number 1, still Louisville, Lamar Jackson. Number 2, Stanford running back Christian McCaffrey. Number 3 stays the same, Ohio State quarterback J.T. Barrett.
Is this like his 6th year of college football?
He's been there for a while.
He's
I
a
think.
junior.
Yeah, he's
So
Fourth year junior.
6-year junior?
he's
Fourth year junior.
10-year junior, I think.
All right, just checking. It seems like he's been there since like 12.
That's science, man. It's killing them.
I think Jim Trussell recruited him.
Number 4, San Diego State running back Donald Pumphrey. 5, Houston quarterback Greg Ward, and last, number 6, Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson.
For those of you not familiar with Donnell Pumphrey, he's had a 100-yard game streak dating back to last season.
Wow, that's impressive.
He's pretty daggum good. He's projected as a top 3-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'd have to say, Lamar Jackson would run away with this in a heartbeat if they did it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just
That's
know
agreed.
most people aren't really familiar with Donnell Pumphrey, so
Right, of
at
course.
least we had
obviously.
to give him a little bit of
No, absolutely.
had
Well,
to give him a
he's-
little bit of love.
He's up there. I mean, he's number 4 on the list,
he's
so
getting
he's
some.
doing
He's
good.
getting some love.
I'm just saying, your layman's
Right.
football fans.
So let's go to where a lot of people want to hear about. Number 1 on my list, of course, LSU's coach Les Miles is relieved of his head coach job after that horrible loss against Auburn. Everyone wants to know who do you think is next in line?
James Franklin, Penn State.
So he gets fired from one job to go to another?
I don't know, but he'll probably end up at another soon. But I
Because,
just don't.
he's not exactly doing well at Penn
Yeah.
State.
He was very good at Vanderbilt, but was not good at Penn State. But that's
So,
the first name that comes to my mind to being on the hot seat.
So 1 out of 2 gets him a job?
Then
Yeah.
Brian Kelly would be the next one.
I just don't know if that would be...
Trade one crapper for another.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what LSU's looking for right now.
I'm not saying James Franklin. I was saying who's next on the hot seat, being fired.
No, I'm talking about who's
Oh,
next
oh,
to
yeah.
relieve Les Miles.
Yeah, he was talking about who's
coach.
succeeding, who's the next choice to look for Les Miles.
Well,
No,
I've
you
heard
heard-
the other.
I've heard
I'm
Tom
glad you got
Herman.
everything together there.
I've heard Tom Herman is a name that's come up.
Yes.
Of course, everybody,
Everyone keeps talking about Jimbo.
and I don't think Jimbo would leave Florida State for LSU.
He already said he's not going to.
Well, I mean, they tried last year. They flirted with him heavily during the offseason.
They tried to pay him $7 million to leave Florida State,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Nope."
But
Don't want
they
this.
couldn't get their stuff together. It didn't work out on either end, which obviously we're happy about. He's denied it already since this transpired. Of course, Tom
Herman from Houston is getting a lot of.
he's getting a lot of love, but it's always been talked about that he wants a Texas job.
Yeah, but he's
He
not going to
either
get
wants
Texas.
Texas, he wants A&M, he wants a big job in Texas.
But Houston, I think, is about to become a big job because I think they're going to go to the Big 12.
I know, but thinking and doing are two different things.
Exactly.
You have Coach O, who's the intern. You think he may keep the job or no?
Orgeron's already a retread.
Yeah.
Ole
fair enough.
Miss.
This is very true. Speaking of Ole Miss, do you think Hugh may jump ship?
If sanctions come down, he might exit stage right. And that would be a good hire for LSU.
Actually, it'd be stage left. Louisiana's to the left of Mississippi.
But I'm saying I'm using the phrasing. So.
What about Lane Kiffin?
Interesting.
I mean, he is looking to leave.
It's
That's
not
why they
Southern
replaced
Cal,
him.
but hey, it's an SEC job.
I don't think he'll be going back to Southern Cal anytime soon.
I know I was just making a joke on that was his dream job for years.
Well, probably not a choice. Could we see Mark D'Antoni?
No, I don't think Mark D'Antoni will leave Michigan State for LSU. That's a good Big Ten job.
Oh,
for
it is. I mean, and he's made it into a very good job.
for an average SEC job right now.
Wow.
And yes, I would consider LSU has dropped to average now. No quarterback. Fournette's gone at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
Well, this is
What's gonna be left?
this is the biggest issue with Louisiana State is obviously the.
quarterback.
No, that's not the biggest issue. Obviously, you can recruit quarterbacks. What I'm talking about is there's the governmental issues with Louisiana itself, and
The state being in the toilet.
yes, the state being in the toilet itself, which I don't really want to elaborate it like that. But what's another way of articulating this?
The funding
they're
is
bankrupt.
The funding's not
State's
there,
bankrupt.
and there's not a lot of communication between the 80 presidents, chancellors, and the head coach.
it's in chaos.
It's a lot of chaos going on.
Yes.
And the question is, who really wants to roll into that job?
It's a lot of chaos and a lot of headache, and I don't see really anyone wanting to get in the middle of that unless it's a newbie.
Well, 5 years ago, it seemed like the hot job to have.
It was a hot job about 5 years ago, but it's nowhere near hot now.
Oh,
The only way you get
five, maybe 10, whatever you want to say.
the only way you get a guy is a guy either looking to jump to the big time or a guy that's basically exiting stage right from another job.
Well, here we go.
Or
A couple
getting
more on
fired.
our list here before we wrap up. Larry Fedora.
North Carolina, good coach.
What do you think about him?
Not a bad idea.
It would actually not be a bad idea, but I think North Carolina's got sanctions. That's a stage right exit too.
All per you said, Mark, seems that would be a good fit.
Let me stage left again. Gary Patterson, TCU.
Depends on how the year goes.
No.
Okay. We have just a handful more. Let's just run through them real quickly. Bobby Petrino.
He's not going to leave Louisville.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
think
see him because
I think he likes
Tom
it there
Lawrence
now,
has basically pulled him back in. There's a $10 million buyout.
and he likes it there now.
Right, and a $10 million buyout.
Yeah, money does everything.
Yes.
Money talks.
And he likes it there now.
Yes.
No, but I'm saying he liked it.
Dan Mullen, Mississippi State.
He might be
I can see
exiting
that
Mississippi State. He might be getting fired from Mississippi State. So LSU.
Well, I've been hearing that he's been looking for a job he's been looking to get out
He's
of
been for
Mississippi
the
State
last
for a
couple of
while.
years.
Yeah, because they'll
He
probably
was looking
fire
at
him.
Florida. He's been looking all over the place.
Yeah.
They'll probably fire him at the end of the year. He's not having a good year.
He hadn't had a good 2 years.
Well, a year and a half. They were okay till the
And
midterm
last but not
last
least,
year.
okay, two more. Willie Taggart, South Florida.
I don't.
No, because I think South Florida is
I don't
one of the
think they would
teams on the
hire
short list for the Big 12. So I really don't think he'll leave South Florida for a sinking LSU.
It's still an SEC job, and that's still a much better job than.
I would
Exactly.
imagine.
It's a
Yeah.
program that you can
Maybe,
easily
but
build back
People,
on.
recruits will want to come to
Right-
LSU before they
Right
come to
now,
South
it's
Florida.
still a much better job than South Florida. No
It-
offense, South Florida fans, it's still a much better
It
job.
would for right now be a better job than South Florida, but I'm looking also about 2 or 3 years in the future too.
It's still a much
I
better
still
job.
would think the same.
You can say whatever you want for the next 10 minutes. It's still a much better job.
Say 10 years from now, it'd still be a better job.
That's true.
Last but not least, go the same route they did before. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State.
That wouldn't be entirely bad.
Mike Gundy's also an Oklahoma State alum. I don't know if he'll leave the alma mater for LSU.
Other people
I don't-
have.
Other people have
coaches
left their
have done it several
alma maters
times.
before.
Money
But
talks.
I think, but where I'm saying is, I think they would match on Gundy, and I think Gundy's happy where he's at. He's one of those guys that strikes me as being happy where he's at.
Yeah, but you don't see them in playoff run. You could potentially see LSU.
They've come close a couple times, Oklahoma State, only to be
I guess
dashed
they didn't
in the
make the
last
playoffs
couple
last
weeks. No, it didn't, but I'm saying they were close a couple years back.
Close
but
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, close, hand
Big
grenades,
scheme of
atomic
things.
bombs. Either way, he's out the door now.
he's
Moving on now.
pretty comfortable there.
Comfortable
All right, well-
and getting the job done. are two
We'll
different
keep
things.
up on that story, and any new developments, we'll be sure to pass them along on our Twitter. Garnet Gold BCS.
Yep.
Next on the list, of course, as we talked about earlier, Florida State's Jimbo Fisher refused, said, I am not taking LSU job several times. Number 4 on the list, Strickland replaces Foley as Florida AD.
Solid move for him. I actually think it's going to be really good. He's a Mississippi State guy through and through. So it's very much a big move to go to Florida.
Yeah.
But I think he'll do well. He'll have Foley to communicate with. He said Foley's going to be in his back pocket. And supposedly there's something set up to where he's going to have $100 million to work with
That's good.
to
Money
start
to work
improving
with.
facilities.
That's a lot of money to work with. Hope he does something good with it.
I'll work with
Well, that's the thing. Florida, that's what's killing Florida. Even though they're an SEC school, they've got a lot of benefits of history, but their facilities are lagging behind.
it. They are, very much so.
They're-
Part of why they're losing people to Florida State, and probably will be losing people to Miami soon.
well, just all over the place in general. But they get the facilities up, they'll be doing a lot better because they don't actually have a football only facility.
That's
Everything's
insane.
actually in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So
They need to get updated drastically.
they
They-
just now
they
got
will
the
be.
indoor practice facility.
Just this year. Next on the list, as we were talking about earlier, is
is Notre Dame's Kelly job on the line after this awful loss to Duke? You think so too?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, he's gone.
I don't know if I'm willing to say he's on the line, but he's definitely in the hot seat. That's why he made the first choice himself to get rid of Van Goiter.
Yeah.
Which was a smart decision.
Oh, yeah.
Take some of the heat off himself. And, of course, the defense gave up, 150-something points?
Yep.
Scapegoat's only going to keep you off the hot seat.
Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
Mark?
They gave up 150 points in the first 4 games. So, you're giving up 40 points a game, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good look.
And going on the next one here, and this is another reason why I picked Texas to lose this next game, of their starting guard, Kent Perkins, is out on a DUI charge.
That's not good.
And I'm pretty sure suspended because Charlie Strong is very known as a disciplinarian.
He's not playing.
He runs a tight ship.
He's not playing.
That's why I like Charlie.
Stupid move, Bob.
Granted, a lot of people in Texas really don't like him, but I think it's more because of the race deal, but that's just me.
Well,
on a separate note here,
perhaps, but it probably has to do with the fact that they've been really losing lately.
Well,
Texas likes to win.
Yeah, but he was left with an empty
Texas likes to
cupboard,
win, so
and people don't understand that. He was left with an empty cupboard.
Well, they're winning now, slowly. They're getting there.
Next on the list, of course, as you guys have heard, Toomer's corner tree was set on fire after Auburn's win. That man was arrested.
How was the video?
You seen the video of that? That was just... We'll be sure to post it on the Twitter, but it's
mind-boggling.
Yeah, the idiocy that people do. I mean, that poor tree. Those trees.
It's been TP'd, burnt, poisoned.
Well, I mean, it's always
shoot.
TP'd. It's always TP'd every victory they get.
Yeah,
poison. I mean, the fact that it was poisoned by Harvey Updike here. What, 4 years ago?
After the field goal.
Yeah, after the kick six.
Yeah.
What did the tree do to anyone? That's what I want to know.
It's an icon of Auburn.
It's an iconic tree.
Let's try to kill it.
Iconic tree. They always throw toilet paper up in this tree at this corner. Yeah. I believe there's like a corner store there or something.
There's a bar.
Yeah, there you go.
Big
and basically they're up there. They always like TP the whole corner.
People,
it's a mess.
People in Clemson are
that's
crazy.
Fine. I just mean poisoning the tree is ridiculous.
Well, that's what I was about to say. This fella who was a Alabama fan was very upset about the outcome of the game because Auburn won on a kick six. Basically, Alabama kicked a field goal, got
it was a touch short,
and player took it all the way back for a touchdown.
Wow!
And won the game.
Or Eagle. Let's just say he took his vengeance out on a 100 and however many years old
140-year-old tree.
And the tree nearly died.
It almost did die, yeah. And now I guess it's dead now because somebody burned it.
Yeah, and apparently I'm assuming this guy was an Auburn fan.
May have been.
From what I read, he was, but he was drunk. And then he walked over and lit some of the toilet paper. And obviously, if there's a ton of toilet paper, what's it going to do?
Paper.
It goes right up the tree.
Fire.
And yeah, the whole side of the tree just caught on fire. You can see the video, and then you can see him like slowly escaping away because I guess
Fire.
He actually sobered up enough. Oh, I might want to get out of here.
Right, and of course, there's a girl falling behind him, like pointing him out and like yelling.
Yeah, I saw
him.
that video.
As she's pointing, yelling at him, he starts to run off.
Of course he does.
It's an icon of Auburn, and you don't mess with Toomer's corner.
No, you should. So.
Next on the list, Florida International fires Ron Turner after 0-4 start. Here is a horrible statistic. Has won only 13 of its last 53 games. Could you imagine being a Florida International fan?
They made the big mistake.
Existed, to be honest.
They made a big mistake years ago when they fired Mario Cristobal, the only coach that's ever took them to a bowl game.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that, Mark?
Before this 53 loss or this 53 game thing was while Ron Turner was head coach. Basically, was all but like All but like 12
What
of those
year?
games were Ron Turner.
What
Okay.
year?
Like 2012, 2013 was when they
Okay.
fired Cristobal.
All right.
Yeah. Because he got hired at Miami as an assistant after that.
Yes, I believe he's at Alabama now.
Yeah, as the offensive line coach at Alabama
Right.
now.
So it's been a minute. Either way, they need to go in a different direction. They need to
Yes.
really, really redo the program. I'm surprised they kept Turner that long.
Ron Turner, former Illinois head
I was about to
coach,
say, wasn't he at
former
Illinois?
Chicago Bear offensive coordinator as well.
Yeah, he's been around.
Whoever it is has a bright idea. You're 0-4 to start the season. You should probably get rid of the coach.
Well, maybe they should take that to the pro level and
Maybe they
make that
should.
to Jacksonville and leave us.
Hey, you know what? That's
Hey, we'll
exactly
see
what
what
I was
happens.
headed. Number 9, lastly, of course, it was added last. Found out this on the way here. Florida State's Harrison suspended and transferring out to a different school. Not a huge loss.
He was a backup wide receiver.
I'll be honest, I kind of forgot he was there.
Absolutely.
Pig Harrison was a bench warmer, basically.
Of course, you know, every week we do some kind of tribute, just this sad news to sports. Obviously, taking a separate note on from college football, Miami Marlins pitcher Fernandez dies at 24 on a horrible boat accident.
It's a great shame.
Promising young
Tra-
Cuban pitcher.
Tragic.
Absolutely.
Good fastball.
Great player. Of course, as you guys heard, ex-Michigan State defensive back Marlon Hicks killed in a shooting just recently. So that's tragic. The moment everyone's waiting for. Last but not least, number 3 Louisville travels to number 5 Clemson on October 1st.
Bomb.
Do we know if Game Day's hosting that?
I
Yes,
believe it
it's
is.
game
I
day.
thought so too.
Do you have the time on that?
I do not have the time.
Game day is 10 o'clock.
Uh,
I believe it's a primetime game.
Thank you. That's what I was wondering. Everyone in the free world knows what time game day is. So, yeah, because I know when we hosted. No, actually, we didn't host them. When Louisville hosted us, it was a noon kickoff because that's what the ACC does to us sometimes, which I don't understand how that works out.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
Yes, it is an 8 p.m. kickoff at Memorial Stadium. So I'm looking forward to that one.
They will be coming down the hill and touching the rock.
Yes, that is going to be amazing. The atmosphere in there is going to be fire. This is probably the biggest ACC matchup.
Since Clemson and Florida State a couple of years ago.
I was going to say the biggest sorry, I didn't finish. The biggest non-Florida State ACC matchup
Have to agree.
in years.
Since Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that's probably about it.
Back Matty Ice.
Matty Ice era. And that's almost 10 years ago.
07.
Yeah, almost 10
Because he
years
was the
ago.
number 2 pick in the 08 draft.
So that's been a minute.
Which,
So
strangely
this is
enough,
good to see.
Matty Ice with the great comeback in that game, by the way.
Yes. But as much of a Florida State fan as I am very happy to see this. I mean, it's good to see the ACC having other big matchups.
Get a high profile.
Get a high-profile game that doesn't even have to include Florida State.
Right.
Or, well, it does include the other big power, Clemson.
Right. I mean,
Right, very bright. And of course, you know, if Louisville loses to Clemson, we beat Clemson and puts us right back to where we were before. And that's why ACC hired a contractor to determine a tie, three-way tie between the ACC teams. So
which that'll be interesting to see how they work
that'd be
out.
very interesting. First time, I think.
We've seen that since the division format's been split up.
It's going to be a good matchup.
Louisville wins, then that's a wrap.
I would say so, unless unforeseen circumstances happen.
Yes. But it's definitely looking good. Because the next major matchup we've got after that would be Florida State Miami in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
The hated Hurricanes.
The hated Hurricanes, who will be wearing traditional throwback uniforms.
The ugliest sin.
Yep.
They're actually not too bad. I actually like them better than what they've been wearing in recent years.
It's not saying much.
It's not. It's really not. Because they're still orange and green, so I can't really like them.
Orange and anything, no.
But let's be honest. They're actually better because it reminds me of the old Miami. The Miami that we used to really hate. Not this Miami that we've grown to tolerate.
Because they suck.
Whatever, exactly.
Almost be lovable losers.
Yes.
I would never go that far with Miami. You never use the word lovable with Miami.
All right, so what to know about Clemson? Obviously, the Tigers are starting to click offensively, and of course that's bad news for opposing ACC defenses. They looked sluggish in the second half last week at Georgia Tech, but that was an expected letdown after such a dominant first half. The Tigers ran more plays in the first 2 quarters than Georgia Tech did the entire game, which was 52. Defensively, Clemson clamped down. 19 of the Yellow Jackets plays failed to gain or lost yards, which is good to for Georgia Tech. Of course, that offense that they run. Louisville side, of course, Lamar Jackson's streak of 5 straight 100-yard rushing games, which is intense, dating to last season, was stopped against Marshall last week. So Marshall's been the team to stop that 100-yard streak. Who would have thought? Marshall. We are Marshall.
The Herd.
I was thinking that, but I said
Thundering Herd.
And the Thundering Herd did force him into some inaccurate throws. However, the electric dual-threat quarterback still has 13 touchdown passes and a phenomenal 12 scoring runs through 4 games. Jackson led the Cardinals to a 35-7 halftime lead last week, and 2 of his scoring passes covered 71 and 51 yards. Louisville surpassed 600 yards of total offense, which is intense. And for the 3rd time this season, Jackson remains the Heisman Trophy frontrunner.
It's indisputable. Let's be honest. He is very impressive. Let's look at some advantages. Advantages offense. Louisville. Cardinals are number 1 nationally, total offense. Defense goes to Clemson. Tigers are number 3 nationally in total defense, behind only Miami and Kansas State. They are number 5 in scoring defense, number 15 in rush defense, and number 3 in passing defense.
So it's strength versus strength.
Essentially, yeah. So that's going to be a nice matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, James Quick versus Cordray Tankersley is going to be a huge matchup.
Special teams, it's a push. It's pretty well even. We're going to see Clemson's Ray McLeod.
Ray McLeod, yep.
He's pretty electric. Louisville's Jair Alexander returned a punt for 69 yards against Florida State. That was
Jair Alexander.
That was pretty much the death knell.
Yeah, the dagger.
Coaching, I don't know. It's kind of even. Sweeney, he's done pretty well as of late.
Dabo does work up there in Clemson. But
Petrino, dude, that is one offensive mind right there.
He does have very good offensive mind. The Petrinos do. The Petrinos are very smart offensively.
Yeah, Petrino is one of the smartest minds in the country. His offenses have always been pretty potent, damn near unstoppable.
I do wish his brother had better luck as a head coach, but his brother used to help him for years too.
Right.
So yeah, the Petrino brothers, very smart offensive minds.
Then you have the intangibles. Pretty much even. Tigers are at home, but the Cardinals know they are on the cusp of something big. I mean, they're just now coming. They are just now coming from the where did they come from? The Big East.
Yep.
Which is now the American.
They came from the American to the ACC in 2014.
Okay, so we're actually in the American for 1 year.
Yeah, for 1 year, but that was because they were still in transition.
Okay, well, my point is they've made a monumental rise because within that going from the Big East to the American, or the transition there, then coming to the ACC, they've had some pretty good upsets in this whole time.
Because Pittsburgh,
all the way from going back and beating Florida in the Sugar Bowl a few years ago.
Man, that was a great game.
Because Pittsburgh and Syracuse came in immediately, and Louisville came in the next year.
Right, so they came to replace Maryland,
Yeah.
But this is definitely a marquee game for them, one of the biggest in their program.
Then you got the matchups to watch. You got Ray McLeod and Jair Alexander. You know, good special teams. Basically, return man versus return man.
Yep.
Then you got the betting odds. Clemson right now is a 2-point favorite. I still personally, as I said, I think the way Louisville's played, I still think Louisville's special this year. I just do. I personally think the matchup to watch in reality is James Quick versus Cordray Tankersley. If you're wanting to go Louisville's offense versus Clemson's defense.
I like it.
The number one corner, number one receiver. Both are projected to be drafted. Both are very good players. It's just who's going to give first.
Right.
And then when Clemson is on offense and Louisville's on defense, Deshaun Watson versus the Louisville front seven.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because Kelsey and Fields are going to be in that backfield all game. He's going to have to figure out how to avoid getting sacked, for one. And for two, then you got Clemens and Wiggins, the two Georgia transfers in the back end. Harvey Clemens, probably one of the best box safeties in the league.
He's absolutely had a balling year.
Yes, and then Shaq Wiggins, very good corner. I mean, that's what you're going to see, basically. And this will be a slugfest.
I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a monumental game for both programs. Clemson to see if they can stay on pace. And Louisville, I mean, obviously their best program win came in week 3.
Yeah, in my case, that's what I think will be the most important matchups. Basically, and Wayne Gallman will be very important in this game. If they can get Wayne Gallman running,
yes, they've got to keep Wayne moving.
Maybe Deshaun Watson.
But it depends if Deshaun wants to share the ball. He's got a history of wanting to hoard the ball.
Yeah, can get Harvey Clemens to creep in the box.
Well, offensively and the defense showed a nastiness against Georgia Tech. Meanwhile, the Cardinals easily passed what was supposed to be a major test against Florida State. Jackson will find things a little bit more difficult against this defense, but he's also a special talent. Watson and this Clemson offense won't be surprised by how good Louisville is defensively, and keep in mind that the Tigers were able to move the football against Alabama in the national title game last year. Expect a lot of offense, fireworks, and big plays defensively, and expect Venables' unit to get a key takeaway in the fourth quarter to help Sweeney and company escape with a win.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
You were dead on, man.
I
couldn't agree more.
I will say one thing though. Clemson did barely beat Louisville last year, 20-17. And this Louisville team is
that was a good game last year too.
Yeah, it was.
Was it a Thursday night game, I think?
Yes, I believe it was. And the thing is, Clemson only had two teams that really stopped them last year. Louisville and Florida State were the only two teams, I think, that held them under 30 last year.
Florida State did pretty well on them last year.
Yeah.
That was last year.
I think us and
years change.
But I'm saying
every year, bro.
Louisville to me is a year older than they were last year.
Yeah.
Clemson to me is
a fact.
Literally.
That is.
It is a fact.
Clemson is a bit lethargic this year.
Breaking news: everyone's a year older.
But I'm saying in this case, Louisville was young last year.
Yes, they've
year
they've definitely matured.
They look like a different team.
So, do we have anything else?
I think that sums it up. We'll have a lot to talk about next Tuesday.
Yes, we will. Because we'll have a lot of fallout from this game.
Oh yeah.
Just fallout.
This fall.
I mean, the top 10 is just going to be all scattered.
This will be a lot of shake-up because either or.
We're going to have jambalaya next week in that top 10.
Yeah, jambalaya somewhere.
Sounds good.
Sure, yeah.
LSU is a... Never mind.
Yeah, LSU's getting involved in a lot of things. But, yeah, it definitely appears. Either way, how it shakes out, you're going to have a new top 5. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, especially if there's a big win on either end. You can see someone jump Ohio State. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks for listening. It's a little long this time. Follow us on Garnet Gold BCS or Boldcastify, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or any other social media site you can think of. We're there.
Tinder, Bubble.
Probably all that too. Coming soon. Hit us up. Any questions? Thanks for listening.